Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the day we've experienced so far. May we continue to exercise discernment and good judgment as we make decisions for the Cherokee people. May we be accountable to you as well. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, roll call. Shelley.
Sam.
Here.
Joe Deere.
Here.
Keith Austin. Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Joe Buzzard. Julia Coates.
Here.
Sean Crittenden.
Here.
Mike Dobbins.
Here.
My arm
Shannon
is
Duncan.
On here.
Rex Jordan.
Here.
Darrell Legg.
Here.
Wes Snowfire.
On here.
Dora Petskowski.
here.
Mike Shambaugh.
Here.
Mary Bakershaw.
Bonnie.
E.O. Smith. Victoria Vasquez. We have a quorum.
Okay, I need an approval of the minutes. I'd like to do both the regular session and the packed session at the same time. So would somebody give me a motion? Got a motion and a second to approve both meetings on September 26th. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, it brings us down to reports. Would you sign it? Chuck G.
Hey.
Tell us something good.
Well, I've got some good news for you. Good afternoon. Nice to see everyone. So I'm just going to give a brief report on August. As you all know, normally you would have received September by now because it's the year end. They're doing the second close today, so the final numbers for fiscal year 19 will be out in the next week or so. So your report will be distributed then when we have final numbers. But for August, we had C&B consolidated net income was favorable to budget and above our prior year. The consolidated revenue was ahead of target and also ahead of last year. C&E EBITDA followed that trend with favorable to budget and favorable to previous year. So financial performance was very, very strong in August, and we did finish the year in extremely good shape. I think you'll see some record numbers as we finalize last year's financial reports and looking to have a strong 2020. Putting strategies together. We had our board approved our budget, and so all of the different strategies that we'll be pursuing in 2020 are set, and we're looking forward to a good year. Today we had some meetings with our lead facilitator on a credit line, looking at, as I mentioned to you all in our C&B orientation a couple of months ago, looking to increase that credit line in the hopes of being able to do some heavy growth over the next several years. And so we had another meeting today, and favorable credit markets, 2% money right now in the market with the rates being cut yet again. So really, I think poised for some growth and looking to grow that dividend. Other than those two items, be happy to answer any other questions that are on your mind. I could give you a little update on Arkansas as well, since that's a big part of our growth strategy for FY20. We had a very interesting and productive week. On Monday evening, the Quorum Court, which is the legislative body in Pope County, by a vote of 9-4, rescinded a local ordinance that had been passed last November. And that local ordinance required a second vote by the citizens of Pope County to approve any endorsement of an operator. The Quorum Court repealed that ordinance by a vote of 9-4. So that is one more step that we won't have to take. As you'll remember, we are the only operator to date that has the required endorsement of the Pope County legislative body. So an important event there. The next day, Tuesday morning, we had a very favorable ruling by the Pope County Circuit Court that on every point ruled in our favor. It was actually the county's favor, but it was also benefited us, affirming the constitutionality of Amendment 100 and also affirming the Pope County's decision to endorse us. So I think from a political perspective, from a legal perspective, we are moving in the right direction. I like where we're set.
Are we not closing up on that window that, what was there, a 60-day, 90-day window? Isn't that early November?
Mm-hmm. It was a 90-day window, and that window expires on November 18th. What that effectively means is that the Racing Commission, who's the issuing commission, license issuing commission, they will not accept any additional applications. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will make a decision that day or even within a prescribed period. It is their discretion, but there is a mandate, and of course, revenue dollars from that will not begin until they approve an operator and we get a casino built and operating.
Have there been any other applications within this window to date?
No, there have not been. As you guys may remember, we have there were 5 operators that were pursuing the license, and there is only one operator that has received the required endorsement, and that's us. And so when that occurred, we submitted our application. The application is complete, and we're pretty excited about that.
And then what's the status of the court challenge with the previous former court judge that had issued the letter?
The litigation you're referring to, the plaintiff in that case is Gulfside Casinos, which is an operator out of Mississippi. And they had received, arguably have received a letter from a previous judge, a judge that is no longer in office. And the issue in that court is whether or not the rules that the Racing Commission promulgated, the law that the legislature passed, requiring that the endorsement come from a sitting judge, sitting county judge, whether or not they had the authority to promulgate those rules and laws. And so we feel strongly that the laws on the county side and the commission side and the state side and the Attorney General will be defending that case on behalf of the Racing Commission, feels confident as well based on our conversations and our reading of her pleadings.
So is there a timeline on when a decision may come down on that?
Well, the wheels of justice sometimes, you know how that is, but no, not really. I mean, there'll be a hearing. On Tuesday, the county judge issued his ruling from the bench. That's a pretty unusual thing. Usually they'll want to take it under advisement, think about it, talk about it with their clerks or whoever. He ruled from the bench. Could be the case. It's a different judge. It's a different county. The appellate relief goes to the Arkansas Supreme Court. So the party that doesn't prevail may decide to appeal. If they appeal, then it goes to the Arkansas Supreme Court. If they hear it on an expedited basis, then you're probably 90 days. If they don't, then you're 9 months, 12 months. It could be a while. But I think we have the law on our side, we have the facts on our side, and we'll just continue to be, persistent.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Mary.
Chuck, will you be able to bet on the Breeders' Cup at Will Rogers Down this weekend?
Great question. I believe so, but I will have to. You let me take your bet right now. I could do that. I'm here at $2 on. I don't honestly know. I know in the past we've had parties and stuff around major meets, and so I'm not knowing why we won't be able to. But if you allow me, I'll get back to you later in the afternoon, and I'll.
This is
Be
the
happy to-
wealthiest horse race in the world, so.
Yeah, no, it's right.
No, we're not.
So, great question. I'll find out for us.
And then one other question. At the end of the year, how much money do you think in the form, C&B will bring in through gaming versus contracts?
It's going to be probably close to that 60-40 mark. It might be 57, 43 type thing. That is on the top line is starting to get really close to that 50-50. Continuing to push both business lines, obviously, but I think you'll probably be about that 47-53, somewhere right in there.
I got one question. We broke ground on the new hotel
Yes.
here
Mhm.
in town.
Mhm.
Are we gonna have to pick him up and us build one? or-
Well, it's going too fast or too, yeah. I drove by there before the meeting, as a matter of fact, because I hadn't been over there in a week or so, and I don't know, I know there's been some water, I know we've had some rain, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they've been bogged down in that, but we'll encourage him to
Yeah.
move quickly.
Yeah. In our revenue, is it too early to tell at Fort Gibson? I mean, are we back to?
Yeah, we're not back to normal, but we're getting back to normal.
Okay.
And it's kind of a combination of things. And Councilor Dobbins and I have had a couple conversations about doing a little event out there for the community and some of the elected officials and the community that did so much for us, and hopefully we've returned the favor in various ways. But we have the new casino in Tahlequah, and so at the same time we were down for 100 days in Fort Gibson. So it's a little bit of a combination. It's hard to tell exactly what is fully impacting that, but we are headed back to normal and back to where we were previous to the flood.
Probably increase this one here, though.
It did, and it's kind of it's more of an art than a science, because you couldn't really tell how much of that lift was because it's a new casino and because it's has different offerings, or was the lack of an option in Fort Gibson responsible for that. So
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
you bet.
Anything else before I cut him loose? All right. Thank you, Chuck.
All righty, thank you.
Couple weeks.
Thank you very much.
That brings us down to our treasurer's report. Trey Lena?
Good afternoon again. You guys have the report for through August. It's the report, probably, and just to forewarn everyone, like Chuck mentioned, next month you guys will see these again because of year-end close. It's going to take a little bit longer for us to close. I think you guys are used to that, though. We will be updating you guys as soon as we can when we do closes. Our first, we'll have our first close November 22nd. So that's just FYI for next month. This month, pretty much more of the same. Been here 8 weeks now, so kind of starting to learn the ropes a little more. Something that was not in the report that I wanted to mention briefly was that earlier this month, it was actually in October, we went to NFOA in Minneapolis, and while I was there, the IRS was there, and they held a formal consultation with the tribes on the taxation of tribally chartered entities. This caused a lot of concern in the Indian community, obviously, because, and we didn't know what to expect going into it, because they said some of the stuff that they had put out, which they only put it out briefly, shortly before we were actually in NFOA. And some of the documents said tribally chartered entities, and some of them said tribally chartered corporations. So we didn't know which one. If it was going the route of just corporations, that doesn't affect us, because all of our businesses are LLCs, not corporations. So we got in there. The message from all the tribes who participated in the formal consultation portion of it had the same message, basically. And that is that our tax base has been eroded over the generations so tremendously that we are a government. We are on par with state governments, and we have to run like state governments, but we don't have the same operational revenue. So state governments go out and they use tax revenue. We don't have that same tax base, so we can't raise revenue in that manner. So we've gotten smart, in my opinion, we've gotten creative, and we've gone to this business model where we're going out and we're starting these businesses to earn revenue to run the government. And I don't know if you guys had maybe noticed in some of the acts that have come through recently, but one of the kind of changes that I would like to start seeing is we have a habit of calling our businesses the for-profit companies of the Cherokee Nation. And while they are for-profit, because they earn a profit, that's the goal of them, they're not for-profit in the sense that they profit sort of an individual. So I refer to those as our governmental revenue entities. I think that better describes the purpose of the entities and the use of the funds, the revenues from the entities, because we're using the revenues that we make from those businesses in the same manner that state governments use tax revenue. And my message to the IRS was that no one would ever dream of making a state pay taxes on its tax revenue, which is exactly what you guys would be doing if you decided that tribally chartered corporations or tribally chartered entities are subject to federal income tax. So that was the message there. Nothing formal, any communication back from the IRS has come yet. They have a couple more consultation sessions, I believe, and they've looked at this on and off over the last 20 years. They've never come out with anything formal except to say that Section 17 corporations are not taxable. If a tribe has a state chartered corporation, it is taxable. So we'll see. There was a strong message from the tribes that if you guys were to change this basically with a stroke of a pen, because this is how Indian country's been operating, that tribally chartered corporations and tribally chartered LLCs are not subject to federal tax. If you guys change this with a stroke of a pen, it would cause a lot of uncertainty in Indian country, a lot of instability. So I would be shocked and saddened if the IRS comes out and says, and kind of changes that norm. But I've already started working on ideas on mitigation if it happens. So just to let you guys know on that.
Anybody have anything for Trey? All right. Appreciate you. We'll see you next time. All right, Diane Kelly.
Diane's good. She's still not working.
Finally made it back.
Yeah. Bless your heart.
The people that were driving beat us back by about 30 minutes. So next time, I guess we need to drive. Some of them didn't make it back. Well, happy Halloween, and hope everybody's into the Halloween spirit, because we had the goblins here in the hallway today. Well, we did. Anyway, my condolences to you and your family, Speaker Byrd. And I hope Councilman EO is doing well. I see that he's not here.
Getting better.
Good, good. I just want to say, we had an exciting trip out to Albuquerque, and for those council members who made that trip, you guys did a fantastic job of helping, and all of our resolutions got passed, which was great. Several of us worked in some of the committees, and we were very glad that everything went through. Sorry that our elections didn't go the way we wanted them
Well,
to.
it was a good PR trip. We let the other tribes, over 200, know that, what we had to offer, and they're interested in our Head Start, career training program, our joint ventures, and, so it was well worth it. I want to commend you for an outstanding effort up there. You really did good.
Well, we had a lot of good staff, and the council members that went out there did an outstanding
There's
job.
one resolution I'd like for Chrissy or Tim or somebody to look into. There's one resolution they were trying to attach to the Alaskan group, and it was to allow, there are already corporations there in Alaska, okay, and they vote as a block just like tribes do. I think there was going to be an amendment in one of those resolutions where the communities could get organized, and they were going to qualify as a voting block as well. I'd like to get those resolutions from NCI and see if that was amendment that was made there. I wasn't there that Friday.
Chief and Kim with Government Relations stayed back for Friday, and I'm sure that Kim's office will have all of those resolutions that went through. The chief is doing a hearing next week as a result of one of the resolutions that went through, so he'll be in Washington at a hearing. And I think he did an outstanding job on the panel. I had a lot of good comments, a lot of good feedback on the Cherokee Nation presentation. And I think the Indian Congress realizes that the bigger tribes really have a lot to offer, and I think that the Cherokee Nation was very well represented throughout the whole week. So
A lot of small
kudos
tribes
to everybody
there.
that went. Our Big Taro vendor fair and banquet is coming up. The vendor fair is put together by the Commerce Department. It is going to be Thursday, November the 21st. I know that invitations went out, but I want you to make sure you put it on your calendar. It'll be at the Hard Rock. It'll start at 6 o'clock. We promise to get you out of there by at least an hour and a half to 2 hours at the most. Good food. There's several awards. There are 2 new awards this year. One is an environmental award that the Environmental Services approached us about a year ago, and Willard and the Terrell office have been working with Environmental Services, so there's going to be 3 businesses that's going to be recognized. And then Councilwoman Taylor had asked about us doing something when Darrell was working in Career Services about recognizing one of our reentry programs, and we're going to recognize one who has hired a lot of reentry people. So those are 2 new awards that will be presented at this year's banquet. So one of our tarot vendors has designed a beautiful piece that we're going to be giving out as a result of the awards this year. So it was a tarot vendor that made these, and they're really nice.
Good.
So hope you can make the banquet this year, and we always try to do something a little different this year. Some of you all have been asked to be on the agenda, and I will make sure that we follow up with the official invitation for you to be on the agenda next week.
And that's at Hard Rock, right?
It'll be at the Hard Rock, that is correct. In the spring, we hope to do something here at our casino facilities here in Tahlequah for our construction contractors, which would be something similar, but it'll be a little different, but it'll be in the spring. And that was something that Chief Hoskin had asked us to look into doing. We've been talking about it, so we're going to try to do this in the spring, but we'll hold it here in Tahlequah. I know that we told you that we were opening an office in Muskogee, and I'm looking at Councilman Dobbins. The attorney who was working on the lease contract, she sprung her wrist. Then there was some other things that came up in her family. So I have been assured by Mr. Hunt that we will get that thing off High Center next week. So hopefully we'll have an open house and a ribbon cutting and.
So spraining a wrist prevents an attorney from.
Well, I don't know. But he assured me that we.
This isn't our attorney. This is.
No, I said, Mr.
We would work with sprained wrists, I promise.
Chuck's not in here to talk about it, but anyway, he assured me that they would get on it first thing next week. And of course, being gone a week, that I wasn't here to, prod him. So anyway, we hope to have our office open in November. Okay. Our Career Readiness Act. I want to thank all of you council members that went to Pryor about 2 weeks ago. We have Manufacturing Month during the month of October, so we went to Ray Corporation at the Mid-America Industrial Park, and the chief signed a proclamation declaring it Manufacturing Month for October. And Deputy Chief and Chief was there for the proclamation signing. And we had a lot of re-entry clients who work there at Ray that were in the background for that ceremony. And a lot of them came up and shook hands with everybody, and you would not have known any one of those people from the people that were actually as part of the management team. We were very impressed with what we saw and what we heard that day. And then later we went to Northeast Tech for the first inaugural class of our Career Readiness Act. And I know Dora, several of you all were there for that signing. And some of you all were on television that night and that weekend on Channel 6. If you watch Channel 6, I got to see you all on television. And I know that the chief really talked about the career readiness and what it could do for the people in the Cherokee Nation for the next year and what we're going to do with the customized training. Meeting with Indian Capital next week, and we're getting ready to roll out some classes over here. We're going to go to Tulsa and roll some out where I'm talking to Tanya Foreman at Bartlesville. So we're getting ready to roll a bunch of stuff out, and I hope by the time we meet again in November, I'll be able to tell you about all the various classes and where they're going to be located. And our staff are ready to go. So do you all have any questions?
I do.
Daryl Legg.
Yes. So, Diane, I know that we got the Career Tech money, and one of the things that we're going to focus on is carpentry. I think that Councilor Millfire, myself, and Harley, Councilor Buzzard, that we got the pine trees in Jay, and there's a lot of them. We have a huge budget and need for caskets, and I really think that we can incorporate a crew to learn how to make caskets out of those pine trees. It's a cost saving, and it really is, and it's a way to take care of that issue. It's a way to train people on how to do stuff, and if we need storage, we've got the Woodmark building. And I think if everybody can get involved with each other, with administration, with Diane, with Harley up there, if we need to purchase some equipment to start getting a sawmill, I don't think it would be that much overhead. And I think we can do a lot of good things for a lot of people that might be a little bit over income that can't qualify for the burial assistance. Maybe we can create a threshold that everybody agrees on, and we can start taking care of more folks.
Well, I appreciate and commend you on coming up with something of that sort, but I think it's something that we would probably need to include the business enterprises as well as David Moore, who's over the facilities, and a conglomerate of people to see what we could do.
You know how to make it work, Diane. I've seen you in action.
I did let it go.
I'm telling you what. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot more people than that, but I mean, I'm not the sole
Okay.
person. I just provide the labor and the training.
I appreciate you, Diane.
But we'll visit about it.
You bet. You bet.
All right. Anybody else? Questions for Diane? Okay.
Okay, thank
See
you.
ya at the next meeting. Okay, commerce. Steven, you knocked those ladies out of the way and took their seat, didn't you?
That's right. You got the C team today. Bring you greeting. Anna regrets she can't be here, and Shay had a previous engagement, so voila, here I am. I'm Stephen Hires. For those of you that don't know me, I oversee the lending and entrepreneurial development programs that we have in Commerce. And so, as you can see from the report that Anna submitted, we're rolling right along into the new fiscal year. Commercial loans are rocking, and we are ramping up our consumer lending efforts as we move into the Christmas season. It's always a heavy time for us. As Diane mentioned, we are preparing for the Small Business Engage Expo that takes place the day of the Taro vendor banquet. And so if you know any vendors, any Taro vendors out there that would like to be involved in the vendor fair, then send them our way. It's open and free to any of them. Also with this, we are doing some work. We're trying some different things this year, and we're doing some workshops in conjunction. So even if they don't want to have a booth, they might want to come participate in some of the workshops that are happening. And so feel free to send them to that. Again, it's at the Hard Rock from 10 to 3 the day of the banquet. So if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them or send them along to Anna and she can get an answer back to you.
If there's a business that has been kicking around the idea of becoming Taro vendor, will there be somebody at that vendor fair that would be able to visit with them about that a little
absolutely.
bit? Okay. And second is on the Kauai Cafe.
Yes, ma'am.
So you've got your graduates and then kind of broken down into where they came from, and then 5 of those graduates actually have opened small businesses. So I'm assuming you go ahead and wrap around with our small business services to kind of coach them through that, even though they've gone through that training program. You're not just like, you're a graduate,
Absolutely.
go out and do your thing.
Absolutely. So as part of the training program, they are it's a hands-on business development. So part of what they're doing down there is they're learning all the ins and outs of business, of operating and owning a business. So we're teaching them cash flow. They're writing a business plan for a business that they want to do, whether they actually bring it to fruition or whether some, as you can see, some of them did, some of them haven't. So they're getting all the ins and outs, and then they can go into the lending program. We haven't had any that have taken advantage of the lending program, but that's an option for them as well to come to us to get that funding to then start the business. So they kind of get a holistic approach to all things business, if you will, throughout the program.
Go ahead, Julia.
Hi.
Hi.
This is a question from a constituent, and
Hi.
you may or may not have much background on it. Todd may have some background on it from previous years. The question is about a bank, a Cherokee Nation bank, and I think that we had perhaps explored that idea in the past, and I just wondered if either of you, both of you, could refresh me as to what the thinking was on about that possibility.
I can't. I know the conversations have happened in the past. I haven't been privy to them, so I can't speak for Todd.
And I'll probably echo exactly what Stephen just said. I know that there were some conversations. I had actually raised that question myself in looking at that. I think I may know who the constituent is you're referring to, and if so, I'm trying to get a meeting scheduled with that individual to talk about the opportunity and what
I
that
think
may
it's
look like.
probably someone different,
Okay.
but yeah.
Okay, but we
good.
do have, we did have a constituent that contacted us that is interested in particular looking at Section 184 lending and the opportunities
yeah.
to expand
Yeah.
that to citizens.
I know about that one as well. This is different.
So we're taking a second look at that and making another pass at it.
Yeah. Okay. Who might know more? Would it be Anna, as far as the background of what we've
Anna, and
searched as far as?
honestly, and based on my prior experience, I visited a little bit with Gary Cooper from the housing perspective and lending and how they were financing that information. And so Gary may know a little as well, but I'll definitely include the treasurer and others when we pick that up and get it down the road a little.
I think this was about banking, checking, savings, credit cards, CDs.
Yeah.
Sure.
I know that Anna has been part of the, there's been conversation before about not necessarily a bank, but a credit union. And so I know that Anna has been part of those conversations, so I can
Okay.
take that back that you had that question and connect you with her.
And the financial lending, the business lending you've been talking about, I'm presuming is for residents within the jurisdiction, or is it anywhere?
No, so we offer our services, we offer our business services, our financial, let's back this up. We offer our entrepreneurial development services to anyone.
Okay.
So they can call, I just took a call from someone in California today. And we can work through their business plan, we can do all of those things with them, and then help them prepare to get financing. We can't lend to them if they're outside of the 14 counties. Now, that doesn't mean they have to be within the jurisdiction. We lend to all 14 counties. So Muskogee, whether you're in the jurisdiction or not. Tulsa, whether you're in the jurisdiction or not. Wagner, we lend holistically to all the 14 counties. So we do have some loans that are outside the jurisdiction that we're working with.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. Thanks.
Counselor Dobbins.
Yes, we have Cherokee-owned banks, by the way.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure we need, were you talking about just a Cherokee-run bank, or because we have some Cherokee-owned banks now?
Sure, we have Cherokee-owned banks. I think you all entered and just did something with one of them in the previous meeting. But I think those conversations have been about the feasibility study of a Cherokee credit union.
Okay.
But there's a lot of different issues that are involved with there outside of the government. You can ask more. I walked over here, and I'm not looking forward to the walk back. So you just want to have. It's cold. It's a lot colder out there than I thought it was going to be. You know. Thank you all very much.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Okay, this brings us down to our consent items. Terrorist certifications were in your book. I'm sure you've all had a chance to look them over.
I did move for approval.
Got a-
I don't, on that one. I have a question on one of these, this KV Contracting LLC.
What page are you on?
7.
Okay, so that would be a re-approval, yep. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have some questions about that I would want to talk to Diane before we go on with that.
Is anybody, Deborah, you want to speak to that, or?
Chair of the meeting.
Good afternoon, Council. Councilman Deere
Yes.
had a specific question. Did you want to bring it up now, or?
Or just put that one on hold, maybe until next month, the KV
It's-
Contracting?
I believe it's listed as a recertification.
It is.
It is.
Yeah,
and-
there's some stuff in here that needs to be checked.
Okay, that's certainly at the discretion of the council.
Okay, so I think what we would have to do is the motion and the second would have to agree to pulling that one out. And if they didn't, then I think you could just vote against the whole ball of wax, is how that would be.
I just want the motion to pull that one out. For now, just to put it on a month, till next month. Let's push it back a month.
Will they not be able to
Just do
operate?
a friendly
right now?
amendment?
I'm sorry?
Tim said,
Tim said what?
Friendly amendment.
Yes, and that's what I said, if the amendment was accepted by the motion and the second.
Just
We
to
could
pull
pull
that
that one
one
out.
out. That's what we would vote on.
You wouldn't have to vote if the motion, would you? If the maker and the second agreed, would there be a vote on it? There wouldn't, would there?
No, it would just be an amendment, but Julia, wouldn't
There's
the,
a vote on
would-
the friendly amendment first. And if it doesn't pass, then does that make sense? If it
Uh-huh.
passes the friendly amendment,
My
if it
understanding
doesn't
is
pass, then you vote again
friendlies
on
are
as
accepted.
is.
I got a question though.
oh, okay, just a second, I want to hear what Julia has to say about this.
Well, I mean, my understanding is that friendlies are exactly that, they're friendly, so they're accepted. And only if it is not accepted, then does the person go and make a motion, must get a second, and that is voted on to remove it if the friendly was not accepted. But if the friendly is accepted, then
That's what I think.
Makes sense.
that's it. Yeah, that's my understanding.
Is this gonna affect their status though for a full month? Are they not gonna be certified at anything if we don't?
That's
That's a good
a
question.
question
So
for
we
Deborah, and I
need to figure
believe
this
that
out,
is
you know?
correct. Because
I think Joe needs to be more specific on what he thinks needs to be checked out, so that.
Well, the reason why this one specifically needs to be checked out, this was my daughter's business. And I still receive mail at my house for this business. So there's a conflict there on the purchase agreement.
so there are new owners to this
That
business?
is a new owner that's listed, but I don't think it's been cleaned up the way it's supposed to be. So there's some liability issues there with that. I want to make sure he has that cleaned up. I don't mind him being Terra certified to a sense, but there's some stuff in there with him being certified by himself needs to be clarified and cleaned up through your office.
Okay, and I guess my question would be, I've got a business that used to operate out of my business 20 years ago. I still get mail, I mean,
This has to do with
then,
credit line
so
stuff.
Councilwoman Taylor,
yes,
may I?
yes.
For the recertifications to appear on your list, all of the documentation must be submitted to the Terra office, and the Terra office certifies it before submitting it to the committee that, what you see on the list before you today.
Right, yeah, I get that.
Okay.
My question would be, why didn't, when you got the book, why didn't you question it then?
Well, I just saw it earlier, just happened to notice it here. It was in there, KV.
Keep the bit people.
No, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, I know. But if they've gone through their due process, then I can go on, and that, as long as they've got it cleared up. I guess that's the main question, as long as that's
It is.
financials and all that stuff's cleared up,
Okay.
then I'm good.
As I stated, for the company to be on your list for recertification, all of the supporting documentation has to be submitted to the Terra office
Yep.
and verified
Okay.
prior to being on your list.
Okay.
Daryl?
No, I'm good.
Then we can go on as normal.
Okay, so we're gonna vote on the Terra list as a whole. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposition? All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Deborah. You're welcome. Rarely do we have a question, but
Right.
good when we do. Okay, so we are to community assistance, and there was a new list passed out.
I have some additions to the new list. Speaker Byrd has $500 to all of his Indian churches, $500 to Briggs School, $500 to Lowry School, $500 to Grandview School, and $1,000 to Tahlequah High School Band.
Very good.
Okay, Counselor Shambaugh,
I have $750 to all my churches. I have $150 to the Boys and Girls Club of Delaware County. I have $2,000 for Kenwood School and $1,000 to Uchi Community Center.
That last one was 1,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Duncan.
350 to Greasy Community Fellowship Board Organization. Mm-hmm. 200 to Proctor Community Organization. $1,000 to Adair County Resource Center. And then 700 to Marietta School, and Councilor Crittenden and I was going to split that 700.
So 350 each.
Counselor Austin.
Yes, I'd like to add 1,155 to Boyle Schools.
1,000.
155.
4.
35 cents.
Everybody got the W-9s?
Harley Buzzard.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I usually turn this in, but my
communications didn't go through, so I got J School for backpack program, $750. JOM, $500. Grove, JOM, $500. Fairland Schools. for Native
Slow down,
American-
Harley. Okay.
Fairland Schools,
How much for Fairland?
$500. Spavinaw City, Mickey Mantle Days for $750. Lighthouse Pregnancy Center, $500. Gucci Community Center, $400.
Okay.
Boys and Girls Club of Ottawa County, $750. Boys and Girls Club, Delaware County, $150. And J America Radio Station for $500. Community Crisis Center, $500. I got a Souls Harbor Ministry for $500. Lions Club. I think that is. I have the law enforcement when we get to that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Counselor Crittenden?
Yeah, I have Native Health Matters, nonprofit organization, $1,000.
Okay.
Watt School, $1,000. Marietta School, $1,000. Bell School, $1,500. Sorry, Jody, I got some more. First Christian Church, Stillwell, Oklahoma, $500. Oh, I said Oklahoma. Is there another one? Yeah. Strawberry Festival somewhere. Jeremiah Foundation, $1,000, Angel Tree. Fairfield Community Building, $1,700, construction cost. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Counselor Shambaugh needs to amend his.
Yes, I have an amendment to what I gave you already. Instead of the Uchi Community Center, it's the Uchi Indian Organization. I apologize for that.
We'll let it slide this time.
All right.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Oh, Counselor.
Oh, I was just going to add 2 to mine.
Okay, go ahead.
1,000 to Tel Holt Community Organization. And 1,000 to Dry Creek Community Organization.
What's the other name they use down Tel Hope?
Caney. So you don't know? Please put Tel Holt / Caney on there.
Don't want to offend anybody.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Okay, no other changes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Brings us to law enforcement. Somebody had a change to theirs. Who was it? Counselor Shambaugh.
Try to get it right. I need $3,000 to the District 13 DA's office.
I know, right? Anybody else need changes to their law enforcement? Go ahead, Harley.
Yes, I have $473 to, I believe it's NEO Security. That's all.
Can I asked you. Okay, Counselor Shambar, are you sure that you're?
Pretty sure.
Correct. Okay. Would you give me a motion for that one?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second on law enforcement. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, brings us down to roads. Everybody look at their roads. Okay. Rex?
Motion to approve. The roads.
Got a motion and a second on the roads. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, sports teams, I think we got a new sheet. It is short, but
Motion to approve.
thank you, Rex. Got a motion and a second on the sports teams. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? So we have our livestock.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on the livestock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, and then our new consent item, special projects, was in your book. And I think that's just for us to look over, so just give me a motion, somebody.
I move.
Thank you. Mary, I got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposition? Okay, brings us down to, there's no old business, so new business. Rex, you want to take number 1?
Yes, ma'am. This is a resolution authorizing the Cherokee Nation Marshal Service to donate surplus specialized bicycles to Delacroix Police Department. Put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on the first resolution. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, our first budget mod. Joe Deere, would you take that for me?
This is an act amending legislation 14-9, authorizing the comprehensive capital budget for fiscal year 2020, Mod 1, and declaring emergency. Putting that in form of motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on the capital mod. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? The operating mod, Keith, are you there?
Yeah. This is an act amending legislative act 15-19, authorizing a comprehensive operating budget for fiscal year 2020, Mod 2, and declaring an emergency. I put that in form of a motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Any announcements? Keith, did you have an announcement?
Yeah, Saturday is the Will Rogers Days in Claremore, which is, they're doing something new this year. They're calling it the Will Rogers Motion Picture Festival. And there'll be various well-known people throughout Claremore today. Not the least of which is Councilor Crittenden, who will actually be performing on stage at the Will Rogers Memorial that day, along with Becky Hobbs and Jenna Jett. So come see it. It's going to be a good fun time.
Okay.
That'll be at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning.
Okay. So the next meeting is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, November 13th at noon. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I yield.
Second.
Chrissy.
Yeah.